Hello, it's good to be with you in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My name is Mrs. Sturgis, and for many years I have worked with the Pittsburgh History and Landmarks Foundation. Our offices are inside the Landmarks building, here at Station Square. But most of what we care about is outside, including the remarkable and valuable historic buildings, bridges, tunnels, inclines, and parks that make our city truly unique, memorable, and one of a kind. The built things outside create a living museum for all of us to enjoy. Did you know that the names of some of the places in our city help tell the story of our city? On this Pittsburgh People and Places virtual tour, we will be traveling on Molly's Trolley, along streets named for people, over bridges named for people, past buildings named for people, and past a parklet named for someone. Each of these people did something important in their lifetime that contributed to the story of our city. You can remember some of the story of Pittsburgh because these place names are always around. Pretty neat, right? Think about this for a moment. In the future, a building, bridge, park, or street could be named for you based on something that you accomplish in life that's important in the story of Pittsburgh. What do you think your accomplishment might be? What kind of place might be named after you? We'll be exploring part of downtown Pittsburgh and the North Shore on board Molly's Trolley. Don Mendoza will be our driver. He's a very good friend of mine. He'll tell you how Molly's Trolley got its name. And it's also important to know that it was designed to look like streetcars that Pittsburghers traveled on more than 100 years ago.
Hi, my name is Donald Mendoza. I'm from the Philippines. I came here in 1981. I got a job for Molly's Trolley, and back in '83, the streetcars were removed from the street, and a young lady who graduated from Carnegie Mellon University as a business and introduced Molly's Trolley to the city, and they loved the idea of it, so they helped her put up Molly's Trolley on wheels. And that's where we started. And we started our project of taking kids, public school kids around the city, educating them to how we should do our city. And what happened is, that time, the school that we were in, I had my two twin girls in third grade. And I told Louise about it. And she insists that the twins ride on my trolley. And from then on, they graduate, all my kids now, and they love Pittsburgh. And they were a history buff right now. And I want you to come into my trolley and want you to see what's inside. All right, let's hop in. This is where I sit, and this is the bell. The old type bell. I hear that.
Pittsburghers used to ride on horse-drawn trolleys and on trains, cable cars, and electric trolleys and streetcars in order to get from one place to another. Now in downtown Pittsburgh, cars, buses, trucks, and the light rail are popular forms of transportation along with Molly's Trolley. We're crossing the Smithfield Street Bridge over the Monongahela River into downtown Pittsburgh. There's a Pittsburgh tradition when you cross a bridge. Lift up your legs. You don't want to get your feet wet. So when you're driving with your family next, and you're not the driver, lift up your legs. Continue that Pittsburgh tradition. The Smithfield Street Bridge connects to Smithfield Street, remembering the name of Devereaux Smith, who came here in the early days of Pittsburgh and traded with the Native Americans. Smith's Field, the Smithfield Street Bridge, and Smithfield Street. we'll be turning onto Fort Pitt Boulevard and then heading to Stanwix Street past Forbes Avenue. Those three street names each connect to the beginning of Pittsburgh's story. Fort Pitt Boulevard is named for the British Fort Pitt that was constructed soon after Pittsburgh was named in November 1758. It took 2 years to build the fort. The fort was completed in 1761. Let's enjoy the view along Fort Pitt Boulevard as we head toward Stanwix Street. Stanwix Street was named for General John Stanwix, sent by the British to Pittsburgh to oversee the construction of Fort Pitt. As we approach Forbes Avenue, let me tell you a little bit about the man for whom it is named. Forbes Avenue leads into Market Square and all the way out through Oakland and Squirrel Hill to beyond. It is named for General John Forbes from Scotland. Forbes was the British general who named Pittsburgh for Sir William Pitt the Elder, Earl of Chatham. Forbes was trained as a surgeon, but he became a soldier and an excellent, determined general. Even though he was extremely sick and had to overcome many obstacles, he led his troops through the wilderness to the land in the forks of the Ohio, where Point State Park is today. The French burned and deserted their fort on November 24th, 1758. Forbes and his British army arrived on November 25th, 1758. Forbes named Pittsburgh, ordered that Fort Pitt be built, and established relations with the Native Americans in the region. The English language and English traditions took root here because of Forbes' successful leadership and vision. So remember, the names Fort Pitt, Stanwix, and Forbes remind us that Pittsburgh began as a military outpost. The land in the forks of the Ohio River was an important strategic location. Whoever controlled the land at what is now Point State Park controlled who moved west. Heinz Hall for the Performing Arts on 6th Street is one of the many places in Pittsburgh honoring the Heinz family. Just across the river from here is Heinz Field. You probably have heard of that place, home of the Pittsburgh Steelers football team. Heinz Hall honors Jack Heinz, the grandson of the Mr. Heinz who founded the Heinz Company. Think ketchup, mustard, relish, pickles, many varieties of canned foods. Jack Heinz led the way in creating Pittsburgh's cultural district. Originally, silent movies, those are movies without words, were performed in this building. In 1971, it reopened as the home of the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra. Go inside sometime. You'll see an amazing interior with a grand stage and rows of seats and balconies. The colors are white, gold, and red, and you'll hear more than 100 musicians performing classical music perfectly together. Other events and lectures are held here too. We're crossing Fort Duquesne Boulevard, named for the Marquis Duquesne, who was the Governor General of New Canada during the French and Indian War in the 1750s. Fort Duquesne, built by the French at the Point in 1754, was named for the Marquis. Also, we have Duquesne Incline and the Duquesne University. Hey, we're on a bridge, the Roberto Clemente Bridge. Lift up your legs. We don't want our feet getting wet in the Allegheny River. So we're crossing the Allegheny River, which is the river that the French traveled more than 265 years ago to reach the Point. And we're crossing a bridge named in honor of Roberto Clemente. Born in Puerto Rico, Clemente became one of the first Latin American baseball stars in the United States. He endured and overcame racial discrimination. He played for the Pittsburgh Pirates from 1955 to 1972 and became one of the most respected and famous baseball players of all time. He was proud of his Hispanic background and was an advocate for minority rights. He died in a plane crash on December 31st, 1972, while on a mission of mercy to deliver much-needed supplies to people in Nicaragua who had survived the earthquake. Did you know that Pittsburgh's north side, where we are now, was once a separate city? Pittsburgh annexed or took over Allegheny City in 1907. Pittsburgh grew through annexation. Just past PNC Park, as we continue on our way, we will come to West General Robinson Street, named after William Robinson, who was the first mayor of Allegheny City. His title of general was more of an honor based on the fact that he organized a militia group here during the Mexican-American War. This section of West General Robinson Street runs through the land that was part of William Robinson's father's farm. Long ago, William's father, James, ferried people across the Allegheny River back and forth on a boat between Allegheny City and Pittsburgh. The Andy Warhol Museum is on our right. I'll talk more about him after we turn onto Sandusky Street. Sandusky, that's a fun name. It comes from a Native American word meaning water or cold water. Native Americans were the first to live in this region. The names of our three rivers, Allegheny, Monongahela, and Ohio, all come from Native American words. We'll be crossing the Andy Warhol Bridge over the Allegheny River. Andy Warhol became a world-famous artist, and he grew up in Pittsburgh. As a child, he attended art classes at the Carnegie Museum of Art, and he graduated from what is now Carnegie Mellon University. He left for New York City, where he became involved in pop art. By that I mean, he was inspired by people and things that were popular in American culture. He produced portraits of famous celebrities, films, music videos, and cable television shows. He published books and modeled in fashion shows. He loved to collect things and record life. It's very cool that an entire museum in Pittsburgh is devoted to the life and work and art of Andy Warhol. Visit the Warhol with your family and walk across the bridge named in his honor. The logo on my t-shirt shows three identical bridges. Originally, these bridges were called the Three Sister Bridges. Now we have the Roberto Clemente Bridge, the Andy Warhol Bridge, and the easternmost bridge is the Rachel Carson Bridge. So this logo shows you the design of the three identical self-anchored suspension bridges. The Rachel Carson Bridge honors Rachel Carson, who grew up in Springdale, a community about 30 miles east of downtown Pittsburgh by car. Rachel's childhood home is now a museum. She graduated from what is now Chatham University in Pittsburgh. Through her writing and research as a marine biologist, she was one of the first to open people's eyes and minds to the beauty and value of the natural world and alert us to the dangers of chemicals, pesticides, and pollution. Her most famous book was Silent Spring, and it started the environmental movement in our nation. We're coming now to the Convention Center with its sloping white roof. It's named for David Leo Lawrence. mayor of Pittsburgh during Pittsburgh's Renaissance or rebirth after World War II, and later governor of Pennsylvania. David Lawrence was born in downtown Pittsburgh, in the area now occupied by Point State Park. His family could not afford to send him to college. He enlisted in the Army and after World War I became involved in politics. After World War II, in 1945, David Lawrence became mayor of Pittsburgh. He worked with leaders in industry to reduce pollution in the air and in the rivers, and he worked with other planners and architects to clean up Pittsburgh. His vision of cleaning up Pittsburgh resulted in actually tearing down many existing buildings and wiping out some existing neighborhoods. Under his leadership, though, Point State Park was created and new development occurred in the Lower Hill, on the north side, and in East Liberty. Penn Avenue is named for the Quaker William Penn, who founded Pennsylvania in 1681. The heirs of William Penn, his grandsons, sent surveyors in 1784, right after the American Revolutionary War, to lay out the streets of Pittsburgh. This street was laid out parallel to the Allegheny River, and Penn Avenue was named for the Penn family. Katz Plaza, with benches like eyeballs and a huge fountain, is named for Agnes R. Katz. It is a gift from her children. Agnes graduated from a Pittsburgh public high school, and she became a successful businesswoman with her husband Joseph. Their Papercraft Corporation manufactured gift wrapping paper and other paper products. Pittsburgh Opera, Pittsburgh Ballet, and Broadway shows are performed here at the Benedum Center for the Performing Arts. The Claude Worthington Benedum Foundation gave the lead gift to fund the transformation of this former theater into a first-class performing arts facility, one of the best in the nation. The name Benedum reminds us of Michael late Benedum, a Pittsburgh businessman who made his fortune in the oil and gas industries. He and his wife had one child, Claude, who died at age 20 during the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic. The parents established a foundation in the son's name to fund good work throughout the southwestern Pennsylvania region and West Virginia. The August Wilson African-American Cultural Center is the youngest building that we will see on our virtual tour. It opened in 2009, 4 years after the death of its namesake, August Wilson. Born in Pittsburgh, August became world famous for writing 10 plays about the African-American experience. 9 of his 10 plays are set in Pittsburgh's Hill District, the neighborhood where August grew up. It's just beyond downtown Pittsburgh. In December 2020, the United States Post Office issued a stamp honoring playwright August Wilson. A playwright is a person who writes plays. We have arrived at the final stop on our virtual tour. It is located at 1212 Smallman Street in Pittsburgh's Strip District. The Senator John Heinz History Center and Western Pennsylvania Sports Museum is the name of the red brick building behind me. Smallman Street was named for Captain Thomas Smallman, who was stationed at Fort Pitt and was an early settler in the area. The Heinz History Center is named for Senator John Heinz, the great-grandson of the man who founded the Heinz Company. Born in Pittsburgh, John Heinz loved sports, art, nature, and helping people. He graduated from Yale University, served in the United States Air Force Reserve, worked in the Heinz family business, and taught business classes to graduate students at Carnegie Mellon University. He became a respected politician, first serving in the United States Congress and then representing Pennsylvania in the United States Senate. Senator John Heinz died in 1991 in a helicopter accident, just as this History Center was being created in this historic building. So, the History Center was named in his honor. Here's a fun fact about the building. It was built in 1898 as a warehouse to store huge blocks of ice. The blocks of ice were transported here by rail. This massive red brick building was recycled as a museum, celebrating the worldwide significance of the Pittsburgh region. My father, William C. King, actually helped make this transformation happen, along with many, many other people. Visit the Senator John Heinz History Center and Western Pennsylvania Sports Museum soon and often. I hope this virtual tour has helped you understand how the story of Pittsburgh is revealed in the names of some of its buildings, streets, bridges, and parks. Here's a key point to remember. A scientist who studied insects wrote, "Naming is the beginning of caring." In order to care about something, you need to know its name. Think about your friends and places in your neighborhood. You know their names, right? You care about them. A very good friend of mine and a friend of the Pittsburgh History and Landmarks Foundation, Harry Goldby, spent lots of time exploring downtown Pittsburgh when he was your age. In his book of memories about Pittsburgh, he said that the more he looked at buildings and places, the more they became his friends. As he became more familiar with his city, he felt more at home among friends. Please continue exploring Pittsburgh with your family. The city has a great history, and you are part of its future. You belong here. Thank you for watching and for traveling with Don and me aboard Molly's Trolley.